Okay, Shabbat Tov. Today is, you have to put the date in the beginning. Today is Motzei Shabbat Parshat Nach. So it's time to rest. Okay, it's okay. And I want to thank Jesse for organizing and the Black family for hosting. Oh my God. So today's share, in Tanakh study, they're starting now Sefer Yehoshua. And Jesse is the daily teacher, but he asked me to give a share tonight as an introduction to the book. And the first topic, we're going to divide this year into two parts. For those who came on time, and for those who come on Jewish time. So we're going to have about a 15-20 minute share on why Sefer Yehoshua is in Chumash. And the next share will be why Sefer Yehoshua is in Tanach, is in Navi. You understand that? One share will explain why Sefer Yehoshua is the last book of the Torah. And the next share will be why it's the first book of Navi. Make sense? It shouldn't make sense, but it makes sense. Let's see why. And one last thing of introduction. I'm flying, I have a flight, so I have to leave at 9:25. And I won't have time to answer questions at the end. So I gotta get to the airport right away. So I have to apologize ahead of time. That's why we started so early. Now, that's not pretty good for, you'd think anyone would be here till 8:30. That's pretty good, just like the king. I'm impressed. Now, in general, why is it that the Torah ends with the death of Moshe Rabbeinu and not in Sefer Yehoshua? Give me the logical reason for that.
Because he was the one that it was written for and about, and after him it was the whole history of what he had given us that has to be reenacted.
In other words, if you would call the 5 books of Moses,
Yes.
Then it makes sense the book would end with Moshe's death. But then it should begin with Sefer Shmo with his birth. But if the book is about God choosing a nation, which I think is a real theme of the Torah, isn't it? You know, the whole process of God not just creating, but God choosing a nation to serve him forever, then where should the book end? It's got to end somewhere. But if the book is about God choosing a nation to be his nation forever, and planting the seeds of that nation by choosing our forefathers, and setting aside a land and promising redemption. Remember Brit Ben Abtarim and Brit Milah? In Sefer Bereshit, we're setting the stage. At what point should the Torah end thematically? If the purpose of Chumash is to begin that nation, the startup nation, and have the nation in the land of Israel, represent God, it should end when that goal is accomplished. And therefore, when Brit Ben Abtarim is fulfilled, and the land of Israel is conquered, and we're a nation following God in that land, and so therefore, it makes sense, thematically, the book should end in Sefer Yehoshua. Make sense? So for that reason, because at what point in our history do we conquer the land and set up a nation and we're set to go? No. It's only time of David HaMelech we finally get it right. Now, we have a temple. So you could say maybe that's pretty much where there will be another place possibly the end. And we'll see why there's something in that in Tehillim that relates to that idea. But if the theme of Chumash is setting up the nation, when the nation is set up and we have the land of Israel, it would be time to start. So that's why Chazal point out that had Am Yisrael not sinned, we would have only needed Chamisha Chumshei Torah and Sefer Yehoshua Bilvad. Because we went astray. Now, what is the job of the Nevi'im? Once the country is set up, we need what's called maintenance. Or if I take high-tech companies or startup companies, there's a startup, and then we go public, the IPO, and then the person who started the company usually fails running the company. There's people with vision who get things started, but he'll never make it as the CEO, right? And therefore, fortunately, unfortunately, something bad happens and he's fired or leaves or they catch him on a scandal or something like that. Or he's smart enough to sell the company before he's caught. But running the company is very different than starting it up. And the type of character you need to start something is very different than the maintenance. In fact, if you know in Sefer Bereshit, that's why there's Abraham, right, who starts things, and Yitzchak is totally different. But you need Yitzchak to keep things going. You need Avram as a startup, you need Yitzchak to keep things coming, and Yaakov to deal with crisis. You understand the 3 avot? There's the startup, there's the maintenance, and then fixing, and then there's survival. And there are different periods in Jewish history. Each one represents, that's more Kabbalistic, but that's the Ramban, it's formula on why we need 3 avot. Now, what I want to do in the first year is show you exactly where Chumash ends. Because if someone asks you, what is probably the most important event in Jewish history from the point of view of Am Yisrael? What's the most important thing Am Yisrael did? And what We're in Matan Torah is the most important point. And what event in Mamad Har Sinai? No, that's the sad part. No, what we did. Just what God did. What's the most important thing that we did?
We accepted.
That we accepted the covenant. Yes. So give me the buzzword. What did we say? Exactly. When we accept the covenant of Nasev and Nishma, that's when it becomes official. Because what makes us Jewish is accepting the proposition. If we don't accept God as our boss, He's not our boss. There needs to be, that's why I remember in Rosh Hashanah davening, Hashem isn't Melech, God could be an El HaKadosh all year long, He's not Melech unless we make Him Melech. So until we accept Him, it's not official yet. When Am Yisrael officially, as a nation, accepts to be God's people, that's why you were there thematically in the Midrash. Remember, saw you at Sinai? That whole thing begins, we were all there because we were all there in the beginning. Now, there was a problem when we accepted the proposition to be God's people at Har Sinai. Think like a lawyer. I'm sure there's a lawyer here. Right? If I wanted to go back on that acceptance, right, what could I say? Why we were under duress? The Midrash says, that Midrash is based on reality because we needed God for food, miraculous food. We needed God for water. We needed God for protection. There's no way you can survive in the desert without a miraculous protection of God. The Yamnei Kavod, the man, the water. And therefore, of course, we couldn't say, we said yes, but it's like someone holding a gun to your head and saying, sign this document. Or, now, when's the first, what I want to show with you is the first time we accept the Torah, the real Kimu B'Kiblu, not the one they talk about in Beit Sheni with Megillat Esther, it's based on this, is the last chapter of Yehoshua. And take a look at it. That's the page I gave you. See Yehoshua Perek Chavdalad? Look in Yehoshua Chavdalad. And notice Yehoshua gives a speech. Okay? Now, it's the last chapter in the book, it's not the last chapter chronologically. Because chronologically, we'll see in the next year, the last chapter is chapter 23. But chapter 24, I want you to look a little bit, and you'll see in the very beginning, the first part, Yehoshua gathers the people together in Shechem, and calls all the elders together, and everyone gathers together in front of God. And Yehoshua starts his speech in Pasuk Bet. You see that? Kol Menachem. Now, look, the lines that are highlighted, you see the highlight from Abraham Nahar Yehoshua V'Chin Me'olam? Okay. Don't answer the question. Just raise your hand if these verses look familiar. You see that? Hope everyone raised their hand. Okay. And they all look familiar not because you studied Sefer Yehoshua. Because even if you studied Sefer Yehoshua in school, you never got as far as Perek Chavdalad. Because in every school, Rabbi Yehoshua says all the time, you begin with Perek Aleph, and you end at the end of the year. And wherever you got to, you got to. Because you're learning, like, I always joke around in yeshiva, you learn Masechet Breshit when you're learning. You understand? You're not learning a book as a book. It's like a shmor. You get a little taste of this, little taste of that. But we rarely ever learn the whole book. So almost, and after the first couple chapters, it's exciting. After that, it's like really boring when you get to the borders. And then once it's boring, that's it. Now, how can they look familiar? One person tell me how come they're so familiar. And when in the Haggadah do we quote these verses? So you probably don't remember. You know it's somewhere in Magid. Yeah? But it's a proof text. Because the rabbis have a beautiful custom. They make statements, and to prove that the statements are correct, they can do one of two things. Right? They can either bring a verse, or they can bring a story. Like every rabbi's drasha. The rabbi has a point to make, he makes a point, and he proves it with a beautiful story, or with a pasuk. Okay? Now, what point do we make before quoting this? You know why we quote this? What did we say? We'll make a statement. Mitchila uvdei avodah zarah hu avotenu. Terach avi Abraham. Ve'avod elohim acharim. Mitchila uvdei avodah zarah hu avotenu. Finish it for me. Mitchila hu, in the beginning our forefathers were idol worshippers. Finish it for me. Mitchila uvdei avodah zarah hu avotenu. V'achshav. That helped you. V'achshav kivanu makom d'avodato. We were once coming from a culture of idol worship. And now God brought us closer to Him, for what purpose? To serve Him. Now I need a proof text. A proof text that what?
That we used to worship idols.
Now, either I need a proof text, listen carefully. I should get a proof text that our forefathers were idol worshippers, because it doesn't say that. You thought it said so, because you remember the story of Avram breaking the idols. Remember growing up, you learned that Avram broke his father's idols? That's a story about Gidon, not about Avram Avinu, that the rabbis push backwards. But how do we know that story makes sense? We'll see in a minute why. How do we know that Terach was an idol worshiper? It never says so in the Torah. It never says so in Sefer Bereshit. But we find out about it from Yehoshua. Okay? Now, but what else do we say in that statement? V'achshav kirvanu makom la'avodato. I would also expect a text proof from that. That you don't remember saying in Haggadah, do you? Okay, so now we'll see why. Now I want to show you why the Haggadah quotes this. It's much more important in Haggadah. The fact that we were once idol worshippers, or the fact that God chose us to serve Him. Of course, the latter, right? That's the main theme of the Torah. So now, Yehoshua begins his speech and says, we were once idol worshippers, and then God took Abraham from Never and Nahar, and He brought him to the land, and He gave it to Yitzchak, and Yitzchak to Yaakov, and Esav got Har Seir, and Yaakov went down to Egypt. In other words, we're beginning, Yehoshua is beginning a history lesson. Now I sort of give it away here, but what I want you to do for a minute is I want you to read, his speech divides into two parts. And if you were in class and we had a lot of time, I would have you find it, but I'm giving it away because we're limited on time. The historical speech ends at the bottom of the first column with Pasuk Yud Gimel, and then see how Pasuk Yud Daled begins, Vata, and now? Therefore, the speech divides into two parts. Here's the history, and now based on that history, here's what I want to tell you. So I want you to look at that history. Just scan from Pasuk Hey now till Pasuk Yud Gimel, and give a grade. How good a job is Yehoshua doing in giving a review of Jewish history? I have 10 psukim to give a quick review of Jewish history. Is he right on the mark? Is he overemphasizing something, underemphasizing something? Just read it and raise your hand when you finish, and if you have any comments. Be Jewish. Like, be critical. Remember, we have a habit of looking for the worst in people. No, that's not nice. There's English on the backside if you're Hebrew challenged.
Isn't he talking?
Wait, 1 second. Yeah, he's talking to the people.
Isn't he talking like they're a bit stupid, reminding them the story? They were all there. They know the stories.
Yeah, we never do that with our children, do we?
I don't know.
I'm sure you never heard a rabbi give the same speech, make the same point over and over again.
Yeah. Korach mentions everything. All he mentions is the last all.
Yeah.
And Kiryat Yamsuf finished.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, what are you going to say?
Well, Matan Torah is not really here.
Sure it is. It's got to be there. What pasuk is Matan Torah? How could you couldn't skip that. Now, which pasuk is Matan Torah?
No.
You're catching on already, huh? No, you're right. Yeah. You have Kriyat Yamsuf, right? You have going down. You have choosing our forefathers. We have going down to Egypt. We have getting out of Egypt, right? Moshe and Aaron. We have the Makot. We have Yetziat Mitzrayim. We have Kriyat Yamsuf, and God saving them. And then we have the land of Israel. Got it? So what did we skip?
Everything else.
We skipped the whole desert experience, didn't we? Especially Matan Torah. Yeah. Do we have, but we begin with the conquest of Eber HaNahar, don't we? With Eretz Mori. And boy, did we beat them, right? And for some reason we mentioned Balak and Bilam, which we don't have time to go into now. Okay? And then we crossed the Jordan in Pasuk Yud Aleph. And then we conquered the land in Pasuk Yud Bet with God's help. And we conquered the land in Pasuk Yud Gimel. And we live on happily ever after. I mean, what just finished? The goal of Sefer Bereshit, didn't it? What's Yehoshua saying? We reach home, we're home. Right? Jewish history has reached a key point. We fulfilled the goal of Sefer Bereshit, which should be the end of Chumash. And now he says, Va'ata. Okay, now look, everyone understand? For some reason, Matan Torah is missing in that history. Maybe he was a Chiloni. No. Okay. Now, Pasuk Yud Daled. Okay. In Pasuk Yud Daled, he says, "Vata yiru et Hashem v'ivdu oto v'tamim v'emet, v'asiru et Elohim asher abdu avotechem be'ever nahar, v'ivdu et Hashem." He says, what? It seems like in the conquest of the land, you conquer things, you start putting things in your pocket. Remember? You ever seen in museums? Imagine you're conquering the land, you wipe out all the idol worship, and what are people going to take? Little souvenirs, little there and that. Right? It's almost the same thing that Yaakov's kids did when they wiped out Shechem, which is really cool because this is happening in Shechem. Remember what Bnei Yaakov,
Still
it's the exact same words, isn't it? What God tells Yaakov to do, remember, on his way back to Beitel, before you return to Beitel, Asiru Talai Nachar Shebetochechem, and serve God, he says. But now, so that makes sense. Okay? But then look in Pasuk Tedvav. Teenagers love this. V'imra Menachem lavod et Hashem, b'charu lachem hayom et v'tavdun. Im et Elohim asher avdu avotechem asher be'ever hanahar, v'im et Elohim amori asher tem yoshvim b'arzam, v'anochi u'betin avod et Hashem. Take your pick. You know what? If you want to follow the God who took you out of Egypt, you have a choice. If you want to follow your family gods from Terach, be my guest. If you want to follow the gods of Canaan, the local gods of land, you have a choice of 3 doors. They don't know what that is. My people old age, right? Remember the Price is Right. Remember that. I think that's not on anymore, is it? Even reruns. Okay? You can pick. You can be God's people, the God who took you out of Egypt. You can go back to your family gods from Terach. That's why he gave that in his speech. Or you can follow the land of Canaan, follow your local gods. Be a Yankee fan. As long as we're winning. Okay. Now, understand? What's wrong with that? How come teenagers like that? Put it that way. What choice is Yeshua giving them? Or what? You can opt out. You don't have to be Jewish. They don't know. People know what that is. Remember that routine? You don't have to be Jewish? Was that Jackie Mason?
Yeah.
Something? Only people really old remember that. Okay.
Thank you.
Didn't he have an album called You Don't Have to Be Jewish?
I'm about the same age as you.
Okay. Already. Now, isn't that problematic? It doesn't make sense, does it? How come it doesn't make sense?
Because they already accepted the Ma'amad HaSinai.
Say that again.
Because they already accepted the Ma'amad HaSinai, so they can't.
Does that solve your question? If we brought down the story of Ma'amad HaSinai, I couldn't give this choice. But what's Yeshua giving now? He wants the people to make the choice again. That's why he's skipping Ma'amad HaSinai. On purpose, because he wants to redo Ma'amad HaSinai. And what's changed? In the meantime, we conquered the land of Israel. We got everything we needed out of God. We don't need God for food anymore, because what do we have? We have all this food. we have the land of Israel. We have food through nature. We have water. We have rain. We have natural water sources. We don't need God's. We won our wars. We have Tzahal. We have our army now is strong. We defeated our enemies. God helped us. We don't need him anymore. Understand? There's no longer a gun to our head. And we're no longer under duress. And therefore, what's important now? Yeshua wants the people to accept the Torah through choice. This is the real Kimu v'Kiblu. Understand? And I want to prove that.
They're all dead. The original acceptors are all dead.
Yeah, but they were there, at least thematically. At least when they were kids, some of them might have been there. Now, so what do the people answer? Pasuk Tetzayim. V'yanam v'yamru chalila lanu me'azov et Hashem la'avod et elohim acharim. Ki Hashem Eloheinu hu ha'maleh otanu me'avatenu me'eretz Mitzrayim u'beit avadim asher asa le'inenu et otot hakot ha'eleh v'shmeinu b'chol haderech asher halachnu ba v'chol amim asher avanu b'kebam. V'yikresh Hashem et amim v'tamuri ha'yoshev ba'aretz mipanenu gam anachnu na'avod et Hashem ki hu Eloheinu. Almost like Hashem Elohim. It worked. So what should Yehoshua say? Good. If you knew Yiddish, Eshkoyach. Say, very good. We're done. Listen what Yehoshua says now. V'omer Yehoshua lam, lo tuchul lavod et Hashem. Kilhim kloshim hu, el kanahu, lo yisa lepi shechem lechatotechem. Ki tazvu et Hashem ba'avartem Elohei nechar, v'shav ve'ira lechem v'chilatchem achrei asher hitiv lechem. He says, it's not worth it. He's discouraging them. Why? It's too hard for you. You can't get into that yeshiva or into that college. Right? There's no way you could survive. Being God's people is difficult. Saying, why choose something? Yeshua says, me and my family, we can handle this. But you guys aren't. You're minor leagues. Right? There's no way, because if you accept to work for God, these people, he has high expectations from you, and you're going to be punished harshly if you sin. He's quoting the Ten Commandments. Hashem is El Kana, Pokei Davon. Make sense? But now he's discouraging them. Why? Now think like an educator. Why? Challenging. Because you're taking on responsibility, you have to realize what you're getting into.
Or a parent.
Yeah.
Don't go in that closet.
Yeah. Or like, don't eat from that tree. No. Now, what do people say? Pasuk Chaf Aleph. Vayomer Amal Yehoshua. Lo. What do you mean lo? We're not going to accept your suggestion. Ki et Hashem na'avod. Got it? Okay. Vayomer Yehoshua la'am. Edim atem. Ki atem bachartem bachem et Hashem la'avod oto. Ve'amru edim. Okay? You guys decided You said it. I didn't say it. Yehoshua says you guys said it. V'ata hasiru et elei hanecha sheb'lechem v'atu et levavchem el Hashem elei Yisrael. Okay? Pasuk Chavdaled, 24:24, fun to remember. V'emru ha'anu Yehoshua et Hashem Eloheinu. V'v'kolo. What do we have? Seven Nishma, official. Got it? V'yichrot Yehoshua brit la'am, v'yimahu, v'yasim lo chok mishpat b'Shechem. Yeah. And that's the end of Sefer Yehoshua, pretty much. Got it? Even though chronologically, we'll see in a minute, it's not the last chapter. This happens probably in Shechem, when they do the Bracha and Chala and Harival. This happens somewhere after the major part of the conquest is over, as they're about to go and divide up the land. Okay? Now, Sefer Yehoshua saves it for the end. It's like the epilogue, that epilogue. The epilogue? Yeah. The end of the book. It's a story that closes the book, not chronologically, but thematically. Because this is the end of Torah, isn't it? Because we have Nasav and Ishma in the land of Israel as God's people. Which is pretty much, if you ever studied Sefer Devarim, it's pretty much Perach Chav Zayin, isn't it? That when you come to the land of Israel, you have to redo Ma'amar Sinai. Remember? The last commandment Moshe gives after the speech is write down this Torah, put it on big stones, and Harival. This is right next to Shem, and accept the Torah again. So most likely it really belongs into Perach Chet, but that's too complicated. So that was part one of the shir, now we're going to start part two. We're good? Make sense? So that's the end of the book. That's where it begins. Now, part two, we're going to give out a source sheet. This you can save now. Oh, now do it. Stop. We'll do a little break.